Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the T-80UD. This is a currently 10.0 BR premium medium/main battle tank in the Russian Ground Forces tech tree. This vehicle currently costs 9,270 golden eagles and comes with 20 backups. With this said, in this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this T-80 variant, including its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll give it some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation and if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. A quick note, because this is a very powerful vehicle currently, I am somewhat expecting it to increase to 10.3 BR. So I will be doing this review from a mixed perspective of it being currently 10.0 BR and taking into consideration how it will perform at 10.3 BR. With that said, if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing to my channel, but without further ado, let's get into it. Now to start, I'll place the stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its horsepower, its cannon, and its turret traverse rate. Now for how it plays. The T-80UD quite simply is extremely versatile. Though it has a weaker engine compared to every other T-80 currently in War Thunder, as it has a diesel engine compared to a turbine engine, the UD is still very mobile, still maintaining over a 20-to-1 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. Further, because of its 125mm 2A46 M1 cannon and 3BM42 APF SDS shell, the UD can also destroy in one hit pretty much anything that it fights. Heck, even more so, if you're ever caught in a situation where you're being hit with enemy shells, the Contact 5 ERA mixed with its very good composite armor on the front of this vehicle can prevent much, if any, damage from actually impacting your tank or crew. With all these traits combined, the T-80UD can essentially play any role that you want, including frontlining, brawling, base capping, flanking, supporting, and even sniping. Though the latter may be somewhat difficult for some people, as the UD has no thermal sights, but at least has good gunner's optics with 12 times zoom. But therein lies the issue. Because it has no thermals and a somewhat weaker engine, the T-80UD is at a somewhat lower BR than it otherwise would be if it had upgrades on those features. Because it is slightly hamstrung in those ways, it can get by at 10.0 or even 10.3 BR if it gets to that point, and will still have excellent armor, a great cannon, and good mobility, in spite of not being as mobile or technologically adept as other vehicles around this BR. Put simply, the T-80UD is extremely versatile and can play according to any playstyle that you want. It won't hold your hand in some ways like the Turms will with its nice second generation thermals, but it can still do very well in spite of this, especially as a brawler where thermals aren't necessary and where autoloaders such as what's on the T-80UD will do very well. But with all that said, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. The T-80UD has very good sloped composite armor on the turret and upper glacis plate, and also features Contact 5 ERA on the exterior of those areas, as well as the forward portion of the sides of the hull. Second, despite the fact that this vehicle has the weakest engine of any T-80 currently in War Thunder, the UD is still surprisingly mobile. For its third strength, it has a top-mounted HMG for destroying lightly armored vehicles and aircraft. Fourth, the UD has good commander's optics. Beyond this, it has an autoloader with a 6.5 second reload time that is guaranteed because, of course, if you don't have a loader, the loader can't die. For its sixth strength, it has a powerful 125mm 2A46 M1 cannon that can fire the very good 3BM42 APF SDS, of which has over 450mm of armor pen at max, as well as its great HE shells and 9M119 ATGMs. Beyond this, similar to the commander's optics, the T-80UD features good gunner's optics with up to 12 times zoom. And finally, the UD has premium RP and SL bonuses. And now for its weaknesses. First and foremost, this vehicle lacks thermals, which can be a major detriment at this BR. Second, the UD only has 3 crew members, which will limit survivability. For its third weakness, the ammo is stored all throughout the turret, which makes an ammo rack death a common occurrence. Fourth, this vehicle has a poor reverse speed of just 4.2 kilometers per hour. For its fifth weakness, though it still has fairly good mobility overall, the top speed on this T-80 variant is only 60 kilometers per hour, which is lower than most MBTs around this BR and is even lower than other T-80s. For its sixth weakness, the turret traverse rate only goes up to 24 degrees per second with a fully aced crew, which is a good amount lower compared to most non-Russian MBTs around this BR. For its seventh weakness, this vehicle has a poor cannon depression of only -5 degrees. And finally, the UD has a mediocre cannon elevation speed of just 4.4 degrees per second with a fully aced crew. Now with that being said, let's get into how I rate this vehicle. And first, for armament, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. The 2A46 M1 cannon fires an excellent 3BM42 APF SDS with over 450mm of armor pen and has a guaranteed 6.5 second reload thanks to its autoloader, at least so long as ammunition is available in the ready rack, which, don't worry, the ready rack has up to 28 shells in it. Regardless, the APF SDS alongside the 9M119 ATGM and 30F26HE allow for great destructive capabilities against a number of different targets. Couple that with a roof-mounted HMG for light work and for air targets, and you have a very capable offensive vehicle in the T-80UD. It isn't the absolute best insofar as armor pen is concerned, but it is one of the best at this BR and can handle anything that it fights. My biggest issue with this vehicle is of course going to be its lack of thermals, but that hasn't stopped me from having some excellent games with it, especially when brawling where thermals don't really matter. Now for mobility, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Mobility is likely the weakest trait on the UD, but it is still pretty damn good. While it features just over a 20-to-1 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, it still moves quickly enough around the battlefield to be able to keep up with friends and foes alike. It isn't going to win any speed contests, but the UD's mobility in no way limits it, and it allows you to perform whatever role that you'd like to perform with it, including frontlining, brawling, base capping, flanking, sniping, etc. Really, my biggest gripe isn't the loss of power to weight ratio, but more so the reduction of its top speed from 70 kilometers per hour to 60 kilometers per hour, as that can become somewhat of a concern over flat surfaces or over open areas. Another even bigger issue is going to be the reverse speed on the T-80UD, as it is just 4.2 kilometers per hour, which means that while it can charge into battle fairly quickly, you better hope that you can drive forward into cover or that your armor saves you when you're in a dicey situation. Speaking of armor, for survivability, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. While it has the infamous ammo carousel in the turret and also only has 3 crew members, the T-80UD features excellent composite armor that is well sloped and largely covered in Contact 5 ERA. This makes it extremely durable if you get hit in those covered areas. The fact that you get Contact 5 ERA at this BR is wild, especially considering the fact that the T-72AV Turms gets Contact 1 ERA and is already considered to be very tanky. Mix it with great composite armor and you get a very survivable T-80UD, at least from the front. Even if its BR increases to 10.3, I can still see this 7.5 out of 10 score holding, as I have been largely in up tiers with this beast as I gave it this score. Now with that said, overall, I give this a 7.25 out of 10. The T-80UD is an excellent mix of survivability, firepower, and even mobility, so much so that, in my opinion, it dethrones the Turms as the top premium Russian MBT for this BR. Now don't get me wrong, the Turms is still an excellent vehicle, but the UD simply outperforms it in terms of mobility and survivability. Regardless, the T-80UD doesn't have much of a weakness insofar as its aforementioned traits are concerned, outside of the fact that it doesn't have thermals and is somewhat on the lower end of power to weight ratio for MBTs beyond 10.0 BR. Even still, the mobility loss on this vehicle isn't really felt, especially in cities or confined areas. Simply put, the T-80UD is a great MBT that, even if it goes up to 10.3 BR, I would still give it a 7 out of 10 score overall, possibly even still a 7.25 out of 10 overall. It simply checks off all the boxes that you'd want in an MBT, outside of the fact that again, it lacks thermals. Now with that said, do I recommend the T-80UD for purchase? Yes, resoundingly so, even if it goes up to 10.3 BR. Barring some sort of a major nerf outside of a BR increase, the T-80UD is now the best premium MBT in the Russian Ground Forces tech tree and is easily among the best in War Thunder around its BR in regards to premium vehicles. Heck, again, I love the Turms, but the UD is just a bit better than it, especially in regards to armor and mobility. The T-80UD having Contact 5 ERA instead of Contact 1 already makes a big difference in terms of survivability over the Turms, but factor in better composite armor and noticeably better speed, and it becomes a big win for the UD over the still great Turms. The addition of the T-80UD just makes the already super-powered Russian BR bracket of 10.0 and or 10.3 BR that much more powerful. Heck, having the UD as the brawler and the Turms as the sniper, due to again its excellent thermals and lower mobility, could be a deadly 1-2 combination in Russian lineups, with the 2S38 being a versatile finisher that can destroy both air and ground through harassing attacks. Basically, basically, as I'm imagining all of these possibilities featuring the UD, of which are all essentially valid even if it gets a BR increase to 10.3 BR, as I've been getting in up tiers all the time with it anyways, I'm realizing just how good the T-80UD really is. Again, it is by no means perfect, as it is still slower than every other T-80 in game, and it is easy to destroy via an ammo rack kill, as well as the fact that it only has 3 crew members. Throw in its lack of thermals and its 4.2 km/h reverse speed, plus its mediocre turret traverse, and you have some pretty major weaknesses. Even still, its excellent strengths more than make up for any of those weaknesses that I just mentioned, and then some. I will say, however, that the Turms may be more beginner friendly, as it has Gen 2 thermals and still has good armor and a great cannon, making it arguably easier to handle for newer players. Although I can say that I never recommend purchasing high tier premiums if you have little experience in game, because no matter how good the vehicle is, a person with little skill will still be eaten alive by the competition. Regardless of all that, yes, I fully recommend the T-80UD for purchase, whether it stays at 10.0 BR or sees an increase to 10.3 BR. And of course, I give it my Tankenstein seal of approval. The UD is easily one of the best premium tanks I've used in a long time, regardless of BR. Now with that said, thanks so much for watching. If you don't mind, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, as it all means the world to me. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.